the point of waking up and putting on your clothes and getting ready to go to school or to work? What's the point of eating and sleeping and drinking? And what's the point of even being here? Like, why? Do you ask that? Is that even a question you can consider? If you think about, like, why am I here? Why was I even formed in my mother's womb to exist? And I think so many of us kind of just, we get so caught up in the system of how things work, and, you know, for young people, you got to go to school, you got to get a job, that we never really pull back long enough to really ask the question, like, why? Like, what's the point of it all? And I just want to mess this up for a minute, if y'all don't mind me. But I think I've really just been thinking a lot about, I might be just bouncing around because I like all this stuff over here. But I just been thinking about, like, the average person lives about maybe 65, 70 years on average. That's about right?
That's right.
About right. So I was thinking, I was like, you know, this was a few years back, and I was like, you know, I only got 40, 50 more years on average to basically be living here on this earth. And I don't know, I think I had one of those epiphanies or wake-up calls, like, what have I been doing and where am I going? Like, time's getting passing, I've graduated from school, I'm up here in school looking at all these folks trying to get this so-called degree, and what I'm finding is so many people don't really have much of a clue of, like, why. Yeah. I mean, so many people are going to school and getting a degree. Why? You know, so many people are trying to go get this job and make a lot of money. Why? So many people are trying to, you know, holler at some girl that they see, you know, like, why? And I think what I really want to, like, deal with is this thing. I think we live so much in this, and I call it like a block state of mind where we're not really thinking, we're not really pulling back long enough to really think about the real reason of existing and why we're here. And so I really want to talk about this thing called DNA. You know what DNA is?
Yeah.
Okay. We just gotta kind of get this together little by little. But I pulled this up on the internet, and I just thought this was so funny to me. I didn't even know what DNA was, like what it, you know, you can write it out. But it's the oxyribonucleic acid. And it is a nucleic acid that contains the genetic instructions used in the development and functioning of all known living organisms. The main role of DNA molecules is the long-term storage of information. DNA often compared to a set of blueprints or a recipe or a code, since it contains the instructions needed to construct other components of cells, such as proteins and RNA molecules. In other words, DNA is almost like the glue that holds everything together in your body. Like, if you really didn't have DNA, there wouldn't really be anything that would make your complexion brown, or you a male that you are, or give you the features that you have. So your DNA is a huge component of you being who you are, to identify you. And I think on a deeper level, a conversation that I've started to have a lot is, you know, not just DNA medically, but who are you as just a human being? Going back to the root of who you are. Who are you? What's the chemical makeup that holds you together at the end of the day? Like, asking the bigger question. There's two questions that I want to ask pulling out of this. If you want to write them down, it's who am I called to be? And what? Who am I called to be? I said that. What am I called to do? Got it. These two questions to me have been probably the big ideas of my life. And I think going back to this place, because I'm not going to go to school to get a job and work, and then in 7 years I'll be out. And it's kind of like, for what? I could go and make a lot of money. And that would be great to have the biggest house and the car, and many of them will feel like, for what? But I think what I'm coming back to realizing is, at the core of my existence, who am I really called to be, and what am I called to do? Why am I here? And I think the funny thing is, we read and we study, we come to services, and we learn a lot about a man who, in 3 years, transformed the whole world as we know it. We call him Jesus, Yeshua, Jesus, how you want to call him. But the funny thing about this guy is, of all the things that we talk about him as, we don't really see him as a visionary, as a leader, as a thinker. We don't see him as a person who had something to do and had something to be. We don't really focus on that as much. We kind of look at him, he came, saved the world, he died on the cross. But if you really study the course of Christ's life, this was a man who had a focus, and he was heading in a direction. And when I think, this is a quote that I just want to throw at this don't be a wandering generality. Be a meaningful specific. And I think what I notice about young people, I'm at school the other day, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm talking about white kids, just loaded, but have no clue. They just, no direction. And I think the scripture of anything I would pull is, in I think it's Proverbs 23:18, something like that. Without vision, the people perish. And what I'm noticing is, in this block state of mind, most of us are we're moving in a direction, but we don't even know where that direction is. So we're kind of walking around and living life like this. We work vicariously, right? Vicariously, just up and go through the next. Maybe I get a job over here, maybe I want to holler at this girl right here. And it's kind of like you just live life without vision, without purpose. And we become this wandering generality. And so we're coming, it's almost like we're hunters or something. We come here and we're like, God, something, and we're just like beating at the door, but we've never really pulled back and asked, like, why? What am I going to do? And I think when we read through Scripture, Jesus constantly would throw out little words like, I've come for those who are sick. Or he throw out words, for the reason the cause I should shake my mother's womb that I would testify to the truth. Or he would say, I've come that you would have life. This guy constantly spoke in vision. And Jesus wasn't just here just to be. And I think it's so funny. Jesus didn't have a job. He didn't have a 401k. He didn't go to college. But yet he transformed the world. Why? Because he got in line with his DNA. And how many of y'all watch Catholic? There's a phrase that Catholic says, even though he has a lot of crazy stuff he should be saying. It's the word he always says that I love so much. He talks about getting in touch with your star players. And I think for the first time when I heard that, I was like, he's crazy, he got a lot of jokes. But this guy's talking about something that I think we don't really get on a lot of. This whole idea of getting in tune with your star player. He would always make these jokes and then he'd always kind of go back to his thing. But you got to get in tune with your star players. And I think for me, that connects with the same idea, getting in tune with who am I called to be and what am I called to do. If I can really get those things and that course of my life together, in other words, begin to bring some kind of understanding to that. A lot of the things that make us sway and get all caught up, those things tend to move out of the way. When your life becomes a meaningful, specific, it becomes a lot easier to do things that ain't in line with the DNA and say, that's not a part of my DNA. That's not a part of my DNA. It's not a part of my DNA.
Go ahead, go on.
When you don't have vision, you're everywhere. You like fly. You like,
Go ahead, Antwon.
The funny thing to me is, we talk about, and we get on the youth a lot, but I want to get on the adults. Because I just, I want to take it outside from the boys. But, train up a child in a way that here's the problem. A lot of grown people don't have vision.
Go ahead, boy. Go ahead, boy. Go ahead, boy. Go ahead, boy.
I like it. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know why. What you gotta go to school? Go to school. Go. You got all these kids sitting in class like this, and they read the textbooks. They don't even know who they are or why they are or where they're going. And so they live in the books they learn about George Washington and 10 times, 3 years, 7 years. You're not connected to it. There's no vision for your education. Nobody has shown you anything that aligns with where you're going and who you are that connects with the stuff you're doing. So you get in class and you really don't care. I didn't care. I was at rest on. I was like, what? I made good grades. I just, I figured it was the right thing to do, I didn't have vision. I didn't have direction. And so most of the time we come to school and we sit in class, not all y'all, some of y'all be kids, some of y'all be the right thing. But a lot of us, we don't really care.